So they say if you're not confused by RERA, you're not paying attention. So there would be a lot of questions, so we will try to address it as we move on. We track the office real estate market very closely as JLL, and as per our statistics, the current office market across India is at about 480 million square feet. And if you divide that into three primary districts, which is the central business district closer to the city, secondary and peripheral, central and secondary add up to almost 50% of it, and the peripheral areas add up to another 50%. And if you look at the vacancy, the space which is absorbed in the central and secondary, it's less than 10%. However, the vacancy in the peripheral areas is at about 27%, which is equivalent to about 60 million square feet. So what is preventing occupiers to look at peripheral areas? What is the actual inhibition which is there in the mindset of occupiers to move to the peripheral areas is what we're going to discuss in the next theme, titled Planning and Development of Suburbs Around the Metro Cities. Quick round of introduction of the panelists here, and we'll get started with the event. We'll start with Angelo Rajesh again, who will be a panelist for this session. If you could come onto the stage, please. We might need a couple of extra chairs for two other panelists. Next, we would have Kanchana Krishnan, Director, Knight Frank, to come over to the stage, please. A quick introduction about Kanchana. Kanchana has over 10 years, over 15 years of real estate experience advising clients over different sectors, which is residential, office, land, industrial, and warehousing. We'll have Mr. Nandakumar, Managing Director of Devi Narayan Housing and Property Development. Nandakumar has held several positions in CREDAI, both in the state level as well as in the national level, holding position as a Secretary, Chennai from 11 to 13, has been a governing council member in the national level, and has been advising CREDAI in several forums. Next on stage, I'd like to invite Mr. Vivek Sharma. Mr. Vivek Sharma is the business head. Check. Vivek Sharma is the business head of Mahindra World City, the township which is at about 75 kilometers from the city. It's an excellent example of an integrated township. We'll hear insights from Vivek Sharma as well. I'd like to invite Nago Chidambaram again. Nago Chidambaram on stage, the founder managing director of Sun Industries and Sun Investments, won several awards, one of which is Best Entrepreneur of the Year from late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. The panel moderator for this session would be Sarita Hunt, Managing Director, Chennai and Coimbatore for Jones Lang LaSalle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I think I'd like to thank Mr. Rajesh for his enthusiasm. I think the kind of energy that he's displaying to get all kind of people around the table and also inculcate an idea of saying, move on, let's do some business development. I think hats off to you and a round of applause. So starting from that, I'm not going to be having any cliches and no one-liners here. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of people who are sitting here to understand what's happening in the real estate market. Is it a right time to invest or a speculation? Should I sell my land? What's happening in the real estate market in terms of a commercial, the business that we do? So we have a really heavyweight sitting on this dais, and I guess wanting candid feedback, because that feedback goes back to this crowd. They carry it back to the investors, to people who are going to be making a difference, especially to Tamil Nadu. So I'm going to start with Nagu. Nagu, you travel a lot around the globe, and you have seen that there's a lot of difference that happens from the main city to the suburbs. And what is the difference that you see that we can bring in to this kind of development in Chennai for specifically, if I have to go down there, that path?
There's a lot of development that's happening in the city is what people are thinking. But actually there's heavy duty development happening around the city. And once people break that barrier which is just in the mind and they step out to see what's happening there, they'll actually realize that it's phenomenal, it's fantastic, and they would definitely need to be a part of that growth story. You're able to get actually gold at the price of silver when you move outside. Here you're paying a bomb within the city. And you do have the likes, you do have the advantages of doing whatever in the city, but if you look at the outskirts, it's phenomenal. You'd be able to buy villas at the price of even half the price of an apartment that's being sold here in the city. I'm not undermining the city advantages. What I'm trying to talk about is on an initial basis to compare if it's going to be city to the outskirts. Now, today's outskirts are going to be tomorrow's cities. So if you're going to own something in the outskirts today, and if that's going to be like a villa, then imagine what it's going to be in some time. Like for instance, Palo Alto, Cupertino, Fremont, all of these were developments that were like outside because San Francisco was bursting.
So any particular examples you would like to cite? Any example that you would like to cite that can be replicated here or can be a thought?
Oh yes. In Chennai, if you're looking at, Oragadam should be fantastic. You should be looking at Maraimalai Nagar. You should be looking at ECR all the way. You need to break the boundaries. You need to go beyond. Then you have all the comforts, you have the luxury, and you don't really have to pay through the top.
Okay, so when you said Maraimalai Nagar, I'll come to Vivek. Vivek, we've seen an extraordinary development which has happened at the peripherals. Do you see Mahindra World City kind of doing something similar like that in the near future, and if so, where?
Yeah, sure. In fact, based on the success of our experience at Mahindra World City, Chennai, now we have already started a project in Jaipur, which is the double of the size of Mahindra World City. So we are very confident about this model. And what we do that, because the growth has to happen outside the city only, because city are now fully choked. So we take into account 3-4 factors while deciding to go for a new development. The first one is the location. If you observe that all our large format cities are developed on the national highways, including Mahindra World City Chennai, which is on NS32. So because connectivity is going to be a major driver, major factor to develop a locality or city, number one. Number two is the development of supporting social and commercial infrastructure, because for the people to live there, they require school, hospital, retail, those kind of things, so that it is self-contained and they don't have to travel a long distance. That is second. Third thing, which is very important for Mahindra and for the society as a whole, is the sustainability, because the cities have to build to last. Because we are seeing the effects of poor planning or too much urbanization, or in India and abroad also, the cities are choking and they're crumbling now. So sustainability has to be at the core of the development. And then when we develop a city, especially in Mahindra World City, we saw the importance of the anchor customer as far as the business part is concerned. So when we were very fortunate to have Infosys as our anchor customer, and then that brought a lot of other reputed players from business to Mahindra World City, and that they acted as a magnet. So these are a couple of things which we have to keep in mind when we develop the city, and that's the way we are developing other cities across India. The next one is in Jaipur, which is already under development. Already 60 customers are there. Apart from that, we are developing 2 industrial parks, one in North Chennai and one in near Ahmedabad in Gujarat.
So keeping that line of thought, I'll go with Agnello Rajesh. What is your views? Like he mentioned that there's looking something similar like what they did in Chennai, in Jaipur, for example. What are your views and what is your thinking of the tier 3 cities as emerging cities, like maybe we have another Mahindra World City in Madurai, or what are your thoughts on that, and do you think that's going to be a reality?
Well, the new India is going to be the outskirts of metro cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta. So that's the new India. When you talk about new India, it's new infrastructure, new lifestyle, new style, new quality, new competition, new master developments. You will get a lot of great quality at very affordable prices compared to the center of the city. It will also give an opportunity to investors in the real estate sector and buyers in the real estate sector, wherein you will get the options of buying villas instead of buying flats. Flats is never a choice, it's always a compulsion. Just because you can't afford the main city to buy a villa, you buy a flat. But friends, my suggestion is people should start investing in projects which offer them villas, because there you also get the ownership of the land. Very few people are blessed to have the luxury of having the land registered in your name, especially on the outskirts of cities like Chennai or Mumbai. So this opportunity is possible because now the cities are growing and there are phenomenal opportunities where people can buy villas instead of buying flats. Now this has happened only because the city is growing. And I think a lot of dramatic change is happening. All the metro cities in this country is seeing an exponential growth in the number of villa developments that are happening. Customer is becoming a much more informed customer, educated customer. He demands, he knows his rights, he knows the quality that he wants. He also knows the price points. No more can a developer decide the price point. It is market determined. Otherwise, before initially, there was a phase when builders were adamant on the prices that they wanted because they had taken complete charge of the location that they were developing. But now, with multiple choice, fantastic competition, more players coming in, corporates like Mahindra's, Godrej, Tata, L&T coming in, people are getting more options. In this scenario, I would like to recommend people, wherever an opportunity, be the owner of the land on which your own villa stands. It's a luxury which cannot be imagined. So if you can get those opportunities, you should grab it.
Thank you, Agnalo. So I'm going to take what Vivek mentioned, infrastructure being a very important key for anything to be linked. I'm going to ask Nanda, since he's been the voice for CREDAI, what is the role that the central government and the state government should do in the development of these suburbs so that they become a destination, not just a thought in our minds?
Yeah. I think primarily, whatever we have been speaking for a few minutes, it's all good as far as the developer is concerned and the development is concerned. But we have gaps between what we aspire as developers and what we really get at the end of the day. And the lack of infrastructure or social infrastructure is the secondary aspect. But there are problems of basic infrastructure where we are not able to get the commutation and even piped water supply, sewage and sanitation system. Still is at, by and large, it's still a questionable situation as far as Chennai suburbs are concerned. And I don't see any definitive plan happening despite the IT corridor being in existence for almost 10 years now. So unless there is a concerted effort by the government to bring in infrastructure ahead of development, I think we are not going anywhere except, trying to recycle the same old story.
Right, Nanda. I'm going to pose the question to Kanchana. As a consultant, you handle various clients from various sectors. What are the key decisions that they take when they come into a city and invest? And I guess those decisions are important for people to take a cumulative decision as to where should they be going when they're going to do a development.
I think there are a few macro parameters that any corporate or a company looks at when they evaluate a city. Broadly, if I have to say, I think availability of talent, availability of real estate, cost of real estate, regulatory framework, that's extremely important in these days when clients are looking at a city, and political stability and ease of doing business, and not to mention physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. These are largely some of the parameters that any corporate would look at. If you ask me, I think Chennai scores high on most of the parameters. If the government can be a little more proactive, bring in an investment-friendly climate, bring in an easier regulatory framework, and give financial SOPs for corporates to set up shop, I think Chennai can do much more than what they're doing now. And with so much push on Make in India, I must say, I think Chennai contributes about 40% of the company's car production. And Chennai has a very lovely mix. It's not only ITES. There is a combination of manufacturing, auto, everything. So I think with the Make in India push, Chennai can be a biggest beneficiary if government can be a little more progressive.
So Kanchana, I'm going to put you on the spot now. What makes our suburbans less attractive to occupiers and residents, and what should we do to make it more attractive?
Okay, I will start with the charms. There are charms, there are challenges. We know about the suburbs. And if I have to mention about suburbs I think is the signature of India's rapid urbanization. We have seen the growth, we have witnessed the growth. For example, let us take OMR. That's where we do largely our business. Today, 10 years ago, a location like Sholingan-Allur was not well taken by corporates. But today, it has become a very popular destination for occupiers. So I think there is a lot of potential on suburbs. But to answer your question, I think the most important factors that will determine suburban growth is infrastructure and connectivity. When the particular location lacks infrastructure and connectivity, I think that's when the problem starts. I think that's when buyers are not very comfortable moving into suburbs. So I think the key factor I think should be infrastructure and connectivity. To add to it, I think physical infrastructure, social infrastructure, civic amenities, school, health centers are all extremely critical for suburbans to be really successful. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to shift gears and ask Agnello, Rajesh, does the current norms of CMDA encourage developments in the peripheral areas? And what role do you think the regulatory bodies like CMDA, DTCP can play in the development of suburbs around metro cities?
Well, to any situation, there are two ways how you look at it. If you think it is a challenge, you are going to challenge your own confidence. Instead of that, if you see what are the parameters available and if you can structure your business model in the existing scenario, you can definitely structure a good business model. When you talk about infrastructure on the outskirts or on the suburbs, you yourself are going to be contributing to that infrastructure. How well you do yours to begin with matters a lot. Government will always do later than when we think they should be doing. So that should not be a deterrent. I think if that is a deterrent, then you can't develop any part of the country. So those cat and mouse games will go on. And we are a democratic country. This country works on votes. I'm sure the influence of votes will help, will instigate the government to take quick steps and quick decisions. The India that we say, we work in multiple cities. We work in Madurai, Coimbatore, Chennai, Mumbai, Goa, very shortly launching in Hyderabad, and we also operate in Dubai. So because of the international exposure, whenever we say that the government in our country is slow, lethargic, not taking decisions, wait till you see the other countries. They operate in the same fashion, they look better, they are presented better, and they are marketed better. They are at par, the same challenges are faced over there. What we experience here is, if we can contribute to the growth of that area, automatically government also connects and makes it better. Like if you see GST road or OMR road, fantastic connectivity, great roads, great infrastructure, people are enjoying moving in there, it's affordable compared to the central part of the city of Chennai, and it all depends on how the entrepreneur looks at the opportunity. If he sees the challenges, he'll not progress. If he thinks they are opportunities, it is fantastic, it's a gold mine. The day everything becomes smooth and wishful, it will be beyond the buying capabilities of most of Indians.
So Nanda, I'll ask you the question. 60% of Chennai's office stock and residential stock is concentrated on the OMR. We talk about infrastructure we've been talking about for decades. Do you see that improving? Because then the peripherals get connected to the main city. Do you see that happening?
Yeah, it's been improving at a slow pace though, but then it is inevitable because the primary, industry is IT, and everything revolves around the IT industry there. And we have been seeing fantastic, as entrepreneurs, we have seen fantastic capital appreciation. We have seen our buyers also benefiting from what they invested 5 years hence. So there has been, the positivity is there significantly. But then we need to also understand that these drawbacks are a deterrent for the growth of that particular corridor. And unless that is addressed, we are not providing a holistic solution. A. B is, we are talking about a segment primarily which I think most of us could afford, but there is a larger possibility for developing housing on an affordable basis in these corridors also, for which there is a lot of work to be done, and that is the bigger market than the other layer that we are trying to address here.
So I think I'll wrap it up by asking each one of you one question. Today we're sitting with a mixed crowd here. What should their investment be? Should it be concentrated in the cities, suburbs, or do you think that's just a dream? I'll start with Nagu.
I would say put your money in the suburbs. Whatever you have, you'll be able to get a larger chunk. So your focus and concentration has to be how much more can you acquire with what you have, not how much less you can acquire with what you have. So if you can expand your pocket, nothing like it, go expanding it again in the suburbs. If you cannot expand your pocket, keep it to what it is, but go to the suburbs. That is a growing market as against a grown market. So where will your money grow? Or where will your size grow? It's only in the suburbs. I will vote strongly for the suburbs.
Thank you. Anjana.
So I think I will vote strongly for the suburbs simply because city and suburbs both have advantages and disadvantages. But inside city, the growth is saturated. Once you invest in suburbs, I think the growth potential, the price, capital movement becomes much more better than the city.
So as a consultant, which suburbs would you be unbiased to?
My all-time favorite is OMR. Of course,
we
Chennai
go again.
always grows towards the southwest and the southwest.
Yes.
Well, invest in suburbs, but make a choice of your type of investment. Don't invest in flats. Invest in land. Invest in villa development. That will give you a better appreciation. And I'm sure investments in villas will never go wrong. Leverage the bank as much as possible. If you have got multiple revenue streams, banks are getting liberal, interest rates are going down. Leverage it well. Invest into properties in the suburbs is my take.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the city space is already overcrowded. There's nothing much to aspire in the city. Suburbs is the only choice, but it has to be an informed choice.
Informed choice. Thank you. Vivek.
Yeah, I am also for investment in suburbs because the quality of life is much better in suburbs as well as the opportunities for growth in your investment. However, when you choose, then you have to choose that the place should be properly connected with the various modes of transport, etc. And there should be proper supporting social and commercial infrastructure so that you have a well-contained life within your micro market.
Thank you, Vivek. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a resounding vote saying we should be looking as investors in investments, also entrepreneurs, first-time house owners, or if you're dreaming to buy a house, I think it's the suburbs. So with that, I'll take a wrap, and thank you so much, everybody, for listening very, very intently. If you have any question and answers, I'll be ready to take it for the audience. Or are we really going to go and start investing?
Good evening, panelists. We have seen projects in Pune where the development of transportation to the particular project is not there by the public sector transportation. Developers put in additional bus and transport services. So are there plans like that in Chennai and the suburbs?
I'm sure this happens everywhere. So the advantage of such scenario is when the government realizes that there is good audience for deploying their services of transportation, automatically the prices of those areas also shoot up. So appreciation is directly proportionate to the governmental expenditure in that particular zone. So today if you are buying an asset where there is not great governmental involvement, you might get it at a better price, and tomorrow when the government involvement increases, that is one of the best parameters for the growth of that particular real estate asset. So I think it's a wise decision, and builders do offer this kind of services and support mechanisms which enhances their sales. In fact, they have started building schools within their complexes, theaters, shopping centers, bus transport systems, whatever you need, and that is possible in the suburbs because of the quantum of land available where you can definitely make a master plan.
How do you expect the growth of gated communities development in Chennai and India?
Me?
Yes.
Okay. So gated community is the new fad in which is being appreciated by people across the country. Gated community is a culture of the West where you have a super development with all infrastructure, swimming pool, health club, common security, security cameras, paver block roads, solar powered lights, water backup, power backup. All these aspects are possible in a gated community, and gated community is restricted living. There are only a few numbers who can be living in that gated community. It's also a status symbol. There is common infrastructure, there are amphitheaters, there are playing areas, there are garden areas, there are planted trees, fruit bearing trees, flower bearing trees. So gated community is the next fad coming in, and I think a lot of interesting gated communities are being built around all the major metro cities of India. If you see places like Oragadam, OMR, ECR, you will see plenty of gated GST Road, plenty of gated communities, which is changing the lifestyle of people. At a very nominal cost of investments, you can get into a gated community and definitely live very comfortably in those kind of places.
Thank you, Rajesh. Any more questions?
I have a question to Ms. Kalpana. You said, Kanchana, you stated that, OMR is your all-time favorite. But I'm sure that you must have noticed the congestion on the road in the morning and evening, especially the tidal park towards Sholinganallur. And there is no proper rail connectivity beyond Velachery, right? Yes, you are advising, yes, go towards that side. But as on today or 10 years, I doubt things are going to come up the way things are happening in this government.
I think, fortunately or unfortunately in India, it is always growth first and infrastructure next. Most of these cities, I think the only city that could perhaps move out of this would be Hyderabad, simply because of the issues they had, political issues. And today, Hyderabad's infrastructure is ready and growth is happening. But most of the other cities, it's always vice versa. While in West it is infrastructure first and growth next, we are simply the vice versa. I agree that there are a lot of infrastructure bottlenecks in OMR, and there are issues in terms of public transportation, I agree, but we are only looking at long term. Look at 2004, how OMR was, and 2017, look at the capital appreciation, look at the kind of, the quality of life that, OMR, lifestyle that has changed, and the kind of apartments that has come up, the kind of job opportunities that a micro market like OMR can provide. There are challenges. There are challenges definitely. That's exactly why I said if the government can be a little more proactive and bring in more and create a robust infrastructure and beef up connectivity, I think Chennai can be a biggest beneficiary.
I would like to add to it. As an investor, always invest on the worst traffic jam road, because that is where the opportunity lies. Everybody is moving in that direction, and the day that traffic eases out, you will appreciate your property value by 100%. So select the road which is the worst, having the worst traffic jams and going in the worst directions. That is the best mode to invest.
My question to you, Rajesh, as you are aware that the Maharashtra Chief Minister's, the dream project is BTT Development Charge, where the theme for the LIG, low income group, is to, own less and share more. So any kind of redevelopment in, thinking in Chennai like that?
So I think Chennai, every metro city, including Chennai, is now up for redevelopment because there is no space in central Chennai. So a similar type of scheme, I'm sure, will happen in the near future. Quickly.